I've been hanging around Biosol for quite a few years now. And one of the first things that people said to me years ago is, wow, if we could put some other nutrients in with the sulfur, this would be a killer product. When you start looking at hundreds and thousands of tissues and consistently 60 to 70% of the tissues come back deficient in potassium, there's a pretty strong message there. The cool thing about potassium is when you tissue test potassium, you're pretty much always tissue testing the newest tissue. And if it's deficient in the new tissue, that means by default, it's screamingly deficient in the old tissue. This ratio is critical, absolutely critical, and you've heard me harping on this for years. The next relationship or ratio that's absolutely critical is the N-decay ratio. Absolutely critical. Potassium is the second most required nutrient of all of the nutrients that a crop requires. They just rhyme off NPKS. Potassium is required in vastly larger amounts than phosphorus and sulfur. This is the Mulder chart, and the only nutrient that isn't on it is the nutrient called sulfur. And when you have potassium in combination with nutrimental sulfur, the nutrimental sulfur unlocks the availability of all these other nutrients. In particular, when you have that combination, there's a lot of synergy between those two nutrients. Remember, the most important ratio in a crop is the N-to-S ratio, followed by the N-decay ratio. Potassium typically is required in the second most amount of all of the nutrients, element nutrients that a crop requires. So there's just a whole lot of synergy there, and there's a whole lot of research to support it. Our ability to grow the potassium side of the nutrient market is huge, and it's based on some very fundamental things, not hocus pocus stuff. It's very fundamental.